My heart reflected the growing fear that halted my quest since its very beginning. I clenched my right fist tighter after each step while the sky grew darker, testifying of the incoming rain and maybe the impending doom. Wow, I heard the deep voice at some point, completely surprised. I turned around and noticed a baby on a rocking chair. Now that's what I call a piece of good old fun, the baby said with a deep voice. Shocked, I remained silent, unable to let out a single response. If I wasn't in that baby body, oh the things I would have done to all of you people. First, I would offer myself some traditional clothes made out of your intestines. And then, I would gather your bones and hearts and make a bowling game out of all that, and then, I would paint my magnum opus with blood and bile extracted from you all. Having heard enough from such a sick mind, I moved forward, getting closer to the drums and walking past more and more souls by the second. The sky slowly adopted a growing and alarming reddish hue as many souls, with absolute bliss, chanted and danced around the drummers. I braced myself, seeing Sierra's bar entrance, while being surrounded by hundreds of enemies. I was among them. Terry, I heard on my left and froze when I saw Mrs. Robinson or Nadia, smiling at me with a bloody bag over her shoulder. I like your new eyes, she said. She then stepped forward and let out a rage scream to scare me away, and succeeded. I ran off hearing her high-pitched, crazed laugh behind me as she did not even give pursuit. I had difficulties pushing the souls out of the way but managed to disappear from her view thanks to a crowd. I then emerged from the crowd, walking backwards and looking in its direction to see if Nadia could be after me, when I bumped into a soul. Xander, the village blacksmith, stood between me and the bar entrance when I turned around. I looked up to his face, contemplating my next move to avoid things to go south. Do you know where's the temple? He asked, but I stayed silent and just shook my head. I heard there's a. He stopped suddenly and leaned forward to get a closer look at my face. Who are you? He asked, and once again my mouth remained shut. We can all see each other when we examine our eyes, but yours are empty. Who are you? What are you? Is it a disguise? Are you? He added, and we both stayed silent. We just looked at each other as I prepared for him to alert his fellow souls all around us and plunge me in a situation I would not be able to escape from. You should check the florist house all the way to the south, I said to break the silence, hoping that my lie would just make him go away. The florist house, huh? He spoke after getting off my face, fully standing again. Yeah, I replied, clumsily faking confidence while trembling. He squinted his eyes, examining me further. Do you know where I can find Byron? I asked. You should check the wine cellar, he simply replied before I watched him walk away. A soul then burst out of the bar window and landed unconscious on the ground. Screams arose from inside as I prepared to meet what awaited for me there. I consciously stepped into the bar for the first time in my life and witnessed something out of a good old Western movie. Countless souls, some of them having glow sticks around wrists and necks, were involved in an intense and bloody fist fight, breaking anyone and anything. I spotted the bar backroom door and sprinted towards it, knowing that one punch from these beings could take my head off. Bottles, punches and chairs flew above my head while I progressed until I reached the door and disappeared from the chaotic scene. Byron? I called, unanswered. I took my breath a little, then walked as slowly as I could in complete darkness. I checked the surroundings and stepped into an office where I discovered many more glow sticks, clean and private restrooms before I found the wine cellar. I used the glow sticks, putting so many of them around my arms that I seemed to have laser upper limbs. It was darker there, yet impressive. Many bottles of all kinds of beverages, along with specific annotations, decorated several shelves of the spacious room. It looked like a library of drinks. Byron, I called again, to no avail, and fear arose as I contemplated the idea that I might have walked into a trap. Soon, I discovered a trail of blood that led to and disappeared under the door of a small room, reinforcing my dread. I tried to open it, but it was locked and I was not having it. For the first time in my life, I started kicking a door, and just like Carla, I never stopped once until it burst open. There was no Byron, a lot more blood, but most importantly, I had found the East Altar, at 14:39 p.m. Byron, I said quietly. Too late, someone whispered behind my neck, before I was violently yanked away from the altar. Landing on Edlin's filled backpack helped reducing damages. I stood up and watched Nadia pull out Byron's, or should I say Philip's head from her bloody bag. She looked at it, then looked at me, and kicked it in my direction. I crouched to dodge it and stood back up. Trust me, honey, you don't want to know what happened to the rest, she said, then sauntered towards me. I ran for my life, losing myself between shelves, with the hope of evading her. I had glow sticks that I needed to see in the darkness and that also gave away my exact location. No hiding, Outlander. I know all the little secrets of this place, she said. You kicked the hybrid? Impressive. I knew you were so much fun. But your tricks won't work on me, baby. I've waited so long for us to be all alone. I've so much fun plans for you, she spoke. Trapped and lost, Nadia caught up with me as I searched the backpack to serve her salt. She kept advancing. I tore a hole in the salt bag. She started running. I threw it at her and the salt covered her face. Nadia screamed in pain as smoke emanated from her face, but she soon started laughing. I stood appalled and watched her remove her hands from her face to see her destroyed skin regenerate. Redeye made my skin much tougher than the others, honey. Told you, your tricks won't work, she said, smiling. At that moment, the ground trembled and I feared that the wine cellar would crumble and crush us. She on the other end was laughing hysterically like the crazy soul she was. He has done it. It worked. The ritual has started, she rejoiced, and the little earthquake stopped a few seconds after. Redeye was right, there's life in blood. I understand why he wants to use yours. For his sick ritual? That's why he wants me alive, I quietly said. This may have changed, Outlander. Razor brought some brushes from your house to him. Free DNA samples from you to further his plans. As you can see, it's working. He might still wants to use your blood, but I don't care, Nadia spoke. I retrieved my 2 salt-covered sticks. Nadia attacked, lunging at me like an animal. I sidestepped her, then hit her neck. She screamed in pain while I seized the opportunity to flee and find the altar again. I checked the time and saw 14:57 p.m. I found it at 14:59 p.m. and looked behind me only to see Nadia leaning against a shelf with her arms crossed, waiting for me. Go ahead, do it. I don't get paid enough to look after that silly thing. Anyway, you won't get out of here alive, she said. She indeed did not care. At 1500 hours p.m., I released one of my sticks and touched the altar. The same things that happened with the other ones occurred again, from the strong light to the altar's crumbling. One more down, I thought. You done? I then heard right behind me. She then seized me by the neck when I turned around, lifted me and pinned me on the small room wall. I tried hitting her with the other stick, but she took it from me and threw it away, ignoring the pain it caused her. That time she meant business. No more games, she said, squeezing my neck tighter. I began to choke, but still managed to retrieve a salt bag with a desperate and ultimate plan in mind. Nadia, I love you, I managed to say, clenching the salt bag so tight that some of my fingers tore it. Huh, she responded, so weirded out by the statement before she burst out laughing. At that moment, I shoved the salt bag down her throat and she immediately released me. I will never forget the gurgling sound she made as the salt instantly burned her throat and inside. She was walking away aimlessly, and I slowly followed behind her, after picking up my weapons and putting them in the backpack. He made your skin tougher, right? You forgot you were tough on the outside, but weak on the inside, I spoke. The crazy soul then picked a random bottle, broke its top and threw the content at me. Surprised, I could not dodge in time and received red wine on my face and torso. She exited the wine cellar, and I remember heartlessly thinking that she was taking too long to be gone. I picked a bottle myself with the intent to break it on her head and followed her. She stepped out of the back room and so did I, still on her trail. The fight had stopped and the bar was empty. She reached the outside and crashed on the ground. Partying and rejoicing had stopped as all the souls contemplated the then completely red sky. The soul standing closer to the bar entrance looked at me. I ignored them and looked back at Mrs. Robinson, passing away with a crazed smile on her face. She winked at me before her eyes lost the white shining and she expired. Hey look, one of the souls shouted, prompting all the others to look at him then at me. I did not understand what transpired before I took a look at my face using the bottle in my hand. I stood in front of hundreds of souls, ready to offer me to an occultist for sacrifice, and my eyes were no longer shining. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to share your story in the next video, comment on this one and I'll make it happen.